Tony, you woke up the other day and your wife was chatting with you, and you guys had you had an epiphany, I could say.
Well, I don't know if it was an epiphany. I'm not sure my brain's capable of epiphanies. Yeah, she asked me quite a profound question just over coffee, and it was, she's 46 and I'm 64, so we've got 18 years between us, which is almost a generation, I guess. And we've been partners in life and business for 17 years, so we know each other pretty intimately. And she said, what is aging like? Because you're there well ahead of me. And I think that's a great question, and I think that goes to the root of some of our societal problems right now, because we discard our vintage members of society as that their knowledge is no longer applicable in the world. Mm-hmm. And yet, I feel as I entered my 60s, probably my whole life of experience was starting to come together into something meaningful at that point. So I feel I'm only just barely maturing as I entered my 60s, and starting to realize what it all meant to some degree. Marcy is a program director at an organization called Intergen Connect, and they're running an incredible event called the Top 7 Over 70. So these are people in our Calgary community who have started businesses or enterprises in their 70s. And the question is even deeper for Marcy, because our life mentors live down near Berkeley in California, actually Walnut Grove, and they're mid-90s. Lived through the Second World War. They were Austrians. He fought in Stalingrad. He was conscripted into the German army. She was a nurse on the front. And they still live on their own, still walk every day. She's still driving.
Who is this again?
They're our life mentors. Tony and Lucy Steger, and they're down in Walnut Grove in California, and just remarkable inspiration. And we go down every year to visit them. They're near San Francisco, and we have dinner with them and just listen to their stories about their life together. And he was like me, dark hair, blue eyed, but like an Aryan, like just tall guy. He was a model, hotel manager in the Alps, and they've lived in Montreal and Hollywood and San Francisco and survived Stalingrad. So, most people don't sit down and listen to folks like that. And yet you've got, if you exclude their childhood, some 80 years of life experience as a couple in marriage and life and work and retirement and all of those things and travel. Why would you throw that away? So it was an interesting question from her, like, what is it like? And so I've applied a lot of thought to that this week. That's why I kind of talked to you about it a little bit.
What made her come up with that question for you? Where did that question stem from for her?
Well, as you know, Marcy's a lawyer, and she's hit mid-40s now, just past her mid-40s. And that 40s are a pivotal age in our life. Like, lots of change goes on in different ways for men and women. And I think with men, we used to call it a midlife crisis. So they go and get a Harley and a new girlfriend. And for women, they get divorced and dye their hair, and the kids have left home. They're really pivotal ages. Lots of divorces happen and job changes, and people go off to India to find themselves in ashrams. So 40s are a pivotal age. And, I went through dramatic change in my 40s. I got sober and lost my marriage and ended up with 2 kids living with me full time as a parent, and lost my job and got, just a lengthy journey for me.
Your first wife passed away. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we were separated, and I had both kids at the time. But yeah, so she passed away. So, I think lots of people right now in their 40s are going through, particularly with COVID, that's really intensified that. Like, who the fuck am I? Why am I doing this? What do I do? Do I do anything that means anything? Like, does the Ferrari, is that really what I want? I think Marcy's question came from that. And also, like, what does it look like in the mirror to see me looking back at me? I think that's, that's something we go through in life, I think. So, I was looking at some photographs of me in my mid-20s. I don't even look like the same person. But I'm not. Like, every cell in my body has regenerated several times since then. So I'm actually, even physically, not the same person.
Is it through sobriety you realize that, or is it deeper than that?
I don't know. I can only really talk to my journey. I know lots of guys who haven't gone through the sobriety journey that think the same way and feel the same way. You look at people like Jim Button, like facing terminal illness, and Graham Sherman, he's in his early 50s. There's lots of them in our city where you'll look and they've done things in stages of life that a lot of us would never even consider years ago, I think. So no, but it is strange to catch sight of yourself in the mirror. Because this September I actually qualify for a bus pass. So that is quite something to conceive in your head, that you're not 30 anymore, or 20.
You've got this energy of you that's youthful and full of life, and you've got this fire within you. Have you always had it, or like you said, did it happen within the last few years of your life?
No, my whole genetic makeup is a Celt. I'm Irish. We're generally an extremely optimistic nation and an optimistic people. And, if you stereotype the Celts and the Irish, like hard drinking, hard fighting, living life to the max, very optimistic about things, not easily derailed. I seem to fit those stereotypes. But I've been blessed with an optimistic outlook on life since I was a young boy. But I think you can develop that. I think you can change that pretty quickly.
When you look at the question that Marcy asked you,
yeah,
what are some of the answers that have come up for yourself?
I think physically, I'm probably in better shape now than I have been since my early 20s. I was an athlete. I did judo to Olympic level, played soccer, like what would be here considered a reasonable level. I mean, I had more courage than skill, but I had a six-pack when we didn't know what six-packs were. Were they relevant? But, I think from a physical point of view, sobriety changed me dramatically. I think quitting my consumption of alcohol dramatically slowed down the aging process. And during that process, I also quit smoking. Okay. And not so many people smoke anymore, but, drinking, you just go Google it. Like, alcohol has some upsides to it if you drink in very light moderation. But overall, it isn't that good for you physically, and it's actually classified as a depressant, as a drug. So it does fuck with your head a little too. So like, you're having a bad day and you drink a bottle of wine, like, you're actually drinking a bottle of a depressant to handle having a bad day. Like, so I think it can get you in a bit of a cycle. But I think sobriety from a physical point of view changed my trajectory dramatically. And during that process, you can't help but start to look after yourself a little bit better. Gradually you get more and more aware of your body and what you put in it. I'm veganish now. Marcy's fully vegan most of the time. I learned from my life mentors in California to walk. So I walk about 8 to 10 kilometers every day, rain or shine. And I don't go to the gym. I hate the gym. I don't work out very often. I like the hot tub and a bit of swimming, but not a great deal. So walking has a lot of upsides for me because it's meditational. I can chat to friends if I choose, so I can take that time to connect with my network. I can be quiet. I can actually go insane if I wish. I can just let my mind run riot for an hour. So I found that, coupled with a gradual change in my diet over the years and the lack of alcohol, you actually, and I've seen this with a lot of people, you start to age backwards. You literally do. You know, because you look at people who drink heavily in their mid-40s and they're struggling to not age. So I think there are, you know, my BMI is low. Like I've had to do a little work around my blood pressure, but you know, I'm not on any kind of medication. Like I don't have to have a special diet. I rarely see the doctor.
I mean, you're turning 65 years old here, Tony, in September.
Yeah.
Most people, or men, start getting grumpy, I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I could be accused of being grumpy on occasion, but
we are humans.
Yeah, I think COVID has made me a little more introverted at times, so I've gotten a little grumpy from that from time to time, a wee bit snappy. It's pretty rare, but I've disappeared into my own head sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know, and if I'm honest, I shouldn't really be allowed in my own head without adult supervision. So, you know, it's not always the best place to be. Wait. I found friendships in my life to be hugely joyful. You know, I've been very blessed to work with some very young teams. So I've got good friends in their 20s. Mm-hmm. And I've got good friends in their 90s. So I've got a wide range, a very eclectic group of friends in my life and a very eclectic group of acquaintances. Mm-hmm. I've got a really good familial relationship set. I get on really well with my kids. They're both beautiful humans, both of them. Like I have a very open and strong relationship with my wife, who's also my business partner. I get on really well with my in-laws and her family. So I think, you know, those people that surround you are very important from an optimism point of view. You know, and when somebody is negative around me or is a conspiracy theorist, or I tend to let that just drift away. I don't have to do anything about it. They just go their own merry way in the end. But those kind of people have a negative impact on you in your life. You know, and I think your mental awareness and your spiritual awareness are very important as you age. You know, that you're aware of what your body feels and your mind feels and your emotions feel. I think they're real contributory factors. And the guys that I know in my age bracket, and I'll say that's like 55 to 70, maybe even 50, those that are beautiful humans all have the same attributes. They all tend to do the same things. They're very gentle with themselves, tend to have good family relationships. You know, they tend to have good pets in their life. Like we fostered dogs for years and adopted. They're all very peaceful animals. They're not aggressive. They're not, you know, they're not disturbed animals.
Chaos and threshold as you got older.
Zero threshold for chaos, though.
That's what I'm saying. Because before, my mind was full of that, of like chainsaws and just like, you know, it was just always with everything. Especially when I was drinking. Now that it's gone, anything that like gives me some weird vibe, I'm like, off, you know?
Yeah, it's not healthy for you.
No, it's not. Because but my stress levels I have this new threshold where I don't want it above this. Don't disturb my peace. Do you have that level now?
Yeah. Yeah. And they have like huge physical impacts on you.
Yeah.
And if you live under stress for any extended period of time, you're going to age. You're going to age. Like that's science. If your diet's bad, you're going to age. If you treat your body badly, it's going to age. If you treat your spirit in the way you've just described, you're going to age. If you subject your soul and your spirit to chaos and negativity, you will age. Your soul will age. And when your soul ages, you age.
So tell me this. What do you mean when a soul ages?
We talk about you're only as young as you feel, you're young at heart. And they use those in the adverts when they slam you into an old people's home. Everybody here is young at heart. Fuck that. I'm not going in there to die. I think they're really talking about your soul. That's what's inside. And my concept of God, and again, it's not very unique, is that God resides in me, a higher power, or whatever you want to call it, or Buddha, or Allah, or you name it, whatever you believe in, it resides in me. And I really believe in my soul. I really believe my soul is connected to my ancestors. I know where they're all buried and which part of Ireland we're in. I've been there, like my family still live in the same area, so I've got a deep connection with that. But, I think I love AA's concept of God, which is a God of your choosing, whatever you choose that to be. It doesn't have to be anything. I've got a lot of faith in that, because whenever I've had faith in my life, in my higher power, everything's worked out just fine. When I manage it, it's a shit show. It's just a shit show. So, my soul is, I think, the essence of who I am, my personality, and the impact I have on other people. And,
this year, with the whole COVID and everything that's happened, we're spending more time alone, more time at home.
Yeah.
When you get caught up in your own head, because that can happen.
Yeah, that's where you need adult supervision.
Yeah, but you could be doing something and all of a sudden you have a thought that is not always a positive thought. It's going to bring you down. And it's going to depress you. How do you find ways to get out of it if you're alone?
The easiest way is breathing. You just go back to breathing. Just take a few breaths. It is hard to think of anything else when you focus on your breathing. It's an ancient method. It works entirely. So you get a negative thought. You don't have to replace it with a positive thought. I don't know how you can even do that. But if you can just stop for a moment and take a breath and just focus on breathing in nice and clear air and breathing out dirty, shitty air, just for a few minutes, that works well for me. And I love the principle. I can start my day again anytime I choose. I can actually go for a little walk, just start again. I don't have to sit in that all day. And again, that I think all those little things that you do contribute to a bigger picture of you being youthful as you age. There are so many things you can do to contribute to being healthy in mind and body and spirit as you age. So many little things. Like I forget to drink water every day, and then I wonder why I've got a headache. I forget, so I have to remind myself of that. But I have a daily spiritual routine that is very simplistic, but I've done it for decades. And I forget sometimes. But my body's, my mind's built the same as yours. I can get pissed off with myself for not meditating. How stupid is that? That's so counterproductive. I'm annoyed for not doing something that would have given me peace. Just think about that. And we do that all the time. I'm annoyed with myself because I don't have and then I see people on Instagram who meditate for 8 hours a day, and I'm like, why the fuck can't I be like that? Why am I not one of those people? They're just amazing. But that life isn't like that. If I can manage 10 minutes of reading in the morning, I've never read a self-help or spiritual book through in its entirety in my life. But I have a couple I love, and one of them is a book called Anam Cara by John O'Donoghue.
Okay.
And he's a Jesuit priest who wrote about Celtic spirituality. It is the most amazing book I've ever read in my life. It really is. And like, you don't have to be a Celt or spiritual or Irish to read it. It's a remarkable book, and it's amazing. It was written by a Jesuit priest. And
what did you enjoy about it? What did you pick up that you really?
I can open any page and I'll read something. And as it happened, I picked it up this morning. It was talking about aging, and there was another piece I read yesterday about how we get relationships die because of familiarity. We just get so familiar, and that they don't mean just marriage, but it's a remarkable book. I have 2 or 3 daily readers that are very dog-eared now over the decades, but that's the best I can do most days.
What is your success for a relationship and to keep it alive and youthful and fun? Because life can get comfortable
a marriage
in marriage.
Yeah, I think in the 17 years we've been together, the last couple have been the most challenging for Marcy and I. So for the first time, we didn't work together in most of that time. We were in separate businesses. I ran McGrath and she's off doing her own thing. And we've had a bit of separation during COVID because I've been down here and she's been there, and she's working and I'm not. So we're going through a period where we're really... I won't say working on our relationship, but we've sat down and agreed to refresh it, if that makes sense. It's not a reset button, but it's, I think we've got to start enjoying that again. But I think we travel together a great deal. I think that's really important. My mom always used to say 4 seasons and a holiday, and you'll know if you like the person. Wow. So if you get back off the vacation and you haven't killed them, probably that's good. So we've traveled together, we've worked together. Marcy and I have never had children together, but she helped raise my 2. So I don't know if there is a magic formula, but I will talk about that story down the road. But we have a great deal of trust in each other, I think.
No, that's huge.
Yeah.
So if someone's your age right now, Tony, or coming to be 60, what is some lessons that worked for you that people should implement into their day-to-day lives?
Sure, that's a really tough question, but I'll talk about my 60s experience, coming into my 60s, and I got a little off center for a little while when I turned 60, because suddenly the rest of the world considers you old. If most people think I'm 50, so I never explain my age or anything. And I work for Mode Models. Kelly has been great. So people don't think I'm 60. So I don't get some of the more traditional views of me. And, as you said, I've got a high energy level, but it is a daunting moment to realize that those old people, actually, I'm one of them now. That's a daunting moment, because you spend your whole life looking at people who are 60 and going, they're the old people. So that's a bit of a daunting moment. And, Marcy noticed it in me, and a couple of my friends noticed it, but that did pass. But I've got to be honest, again, and Cara helped me greatly, but the book, But I feel like my life's just barely coming together now. I actually feel like I'm just beginning. Because what better time to bring all of your years of experience and pain and joy and fuck-ups and successes and relationships and broken relationships and raising kids, to pull all of that experience together and then find your real reason for living at this stage of my life. Because medicine is so advanced now, there is a really good chance I can live into my late 90s healthily. Tony's proved it, and he, in California, he's 96 now. Survived leukemia in the last couple of years. In traditional thinking, he shouldn't be here.
From your successes and your ups and everything that you've done in between, when you look at life now, what were you striving for? What are so many of those moments, like we said earlier, about, oh my God, do we need that new Ferrari? Do we need to cause chaos and stress in our lives for materialistic things.
They,
There's nothing wrong with materialistic things.
no,
Just
no
as long
money.
as it doesn't disturb your environment.
I think when materialism becomes your reason for being, I think that's when it gets really problematic. I mean, if you want a Ferrari or live in a $30 million home, or that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. But for some reason, and I'm not really sure why, I've lived nearly my whole life in the day. Like I don't plan very much. I don't think about my pension very much. I don't really care. Like I don't really care about cars or big houses. Not really. I mean, I don't mind living in one, but it isn't. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I had a couple of moments. I went to a retreat center in Golden not long ago called Quantum Leaps on the Kicking Horse River. I was lying in a hammock by the river, and I spent an hour just drawing little pictures in the sand with a twig. I don't know why. And I think the one thing I like somehow I've been blessed with, I'm still quite immature. I enjoy things that little, like I did when I was a little boy. I enjoy peaceful moments, and I enjoy not giving a shit. I'm quite irreverent. Like I don't live in fear of authority. I don't live in fear of my boss. Like I've actually sat and got fired a couple of times where I've told my boss, like, you don't scare me, right? I think if we can, if in your even in your early 30s, if you can lose the obsessive thinking around being a something or earning something, and just enjoy being young and enjoy the day. We save up for retirement. What the fuck for? Statistics show people who work their whole lives in corporate jobs and then retire, a lot of them don't even live long enough to enjoy it. So, my view is that, go travel, like go live in a van for a while, like go to, I don't know, China. If you want to go visit China, go. Like, don't grow old wishing you'd done something and then not having done it. My father did that. He was going to move to Australia, and he was going to move to Spain, and then he's going to move to the Canary Islands. He never did. And I've got hundreds of examples of people who get to 60 and 70, and it was like, man, it depends what your definition of success is, I think. But I know money doesn't bring you happiness. The one thing money does buy you in the right quantities is freedom to choose. That's what
and choose a path of happiness or sadness, or
it gives you the opportunity to choose. And there's science around how much money is enough. I think it's like 70 grand a year. Below that, you're always worried you don't have enough, and you get above that, and gradually you start to worry about losing it. So you're equally worried both sides, right? And there's actually science around that, I think. So my view on money is, as long as I've got enough that I never have to think about it, I'm okay. I like that. And Marcy's the same. Like I drive a BMW, but it's a road warrior. It's covered in chips and stuff from going through the mountains, and
but it gets you through A and B, and it's a safe
tank. Like, it's a great vehicle. I love it. We've got a little 2-seat sports car we've had since 2002. I love it. It's a great car. Do I want a Ferrari? Actually, I don't really give a shit. I'm not saying that because I need to. I actually don't give a shit. So I think one life philosophy going into your 30s and 40s is don't give a shit.
Just live.
Just live your life, man. Like, you don't have to drive. Don't get into debt. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't get into car debt. Don't get into home debt beyond your means. Don't get into credit card debt. But go live your life. You can travel like a rock star on not very much money.
Tell me how much. What would be enough for someone?
Enough money? What is enough money? I don't know.
No, to live like a rock star.
Like, if you're going to win the lottery, what is enough? I don't know.
In a van. If you live in a van.
I don't know. Living in a van's expensive.
Well, vans are expensive too.
Vans are expensive. So, like you go buy a van for 150 grand and kit it out. That's a lot of nights in a $300 a night hotel.
Well, I'm not saying the 150,000 van.
Yeah, you could stay in, like a $300 a night hotel for the next 5 years for like 70 nights. And,
I think you're thinking that Mercedes Sprinter.
Yeah, that's the one I like. No, but, even to buy a Sprinter is $40,000 or $50,000. A base Sprinter, even a used one. And then you've got to spend, I don't know, 15, 20 grand kitting it out.
Yeah, that's just the shell, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I love van life, but then you've got to drive it every day.
Fuel.
Who wants to stay in Walmart parking lots? So fair play if you want to go do that. But, backpacking was a huge thing when I was a youngster. A bunch of friends of mine bought an old Volkswagen van when we left high school, and we traveled around Europe, picked oranges and baked pizzas, and got in trouble with the police, and chased the wrong girls at the wrong time in the wrong place. And
the Westphalia, right? Those little Volkswagen vans.
Yeah, it was a cheap Westphalia. It didn't work all that well, and we bought a trailer full of army surplus rations. It's cheap food. So, but I think just go do, don't talk about doing things, go do it. And the other thing I find challenging in our world is every man and his dog wants to be an entrepreneur now. That's a fucking tough life. If you want to age quickly,
be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, be an entrepreneur. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a job sometimes.
No, and I think it's the cool thing to do is be an entrepreneur. It's
nothing wrong with it, but it takes a special kind of character. And it's, Marcy and I know from hard experience, like that's a tough road. That is a tough road to go and a tough road to plow. Yes, it's cool. But you don't always have to come up with something unique. It doesn't matter if you're third or fourth to market as long as you do it well.
Well, and the cool factor will run out real quick for a entrepreneur.
Yeah, we were actually going to launch a product called the Entrepreneur's Pillow. We might still do that. It's something you can take home and cry into at night.
But it's so simple, but it's so funny and so true.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times we lay in our entrepreneurial journey of like, are we going to get through this? Are we going to be okay? And we were, as it happens, and it worked out really well for us. But we're one of a small percentage. Most entrepreneurs fail repetitively,
and people don't realize that. Also, the people that do fail, you gotta pivot. You gotta be gentle on yourself. I think people are so hard on themselves, not just in entrepreneurship, but in everything in life. We beat ourselves down. We need to be nice to ourselves.
I agree. There is a key to having money in your pocket all the time. And my mom taught it to me, and that's having side gigs. I got lots. Side gigs, gigging.
Yeah.
A gig. I have probably 3 or 4 side gigs, and Marcy probably has 3 or 4. And they come and go. They ebb and flow with the economy. But I've always got side gigs that I'll do in the evenings or weekends, or like I've always got little jobs going on.
You have to.
I've always got money coming in, and I have learned through my mom, how to make money. I've always, I know how much my base bills are, and I know how to make that very easily. So side gigs are awesome. Like it doesn't matter whether. Even if you're making $20 an hour, that's better than $0 an hour.
There's no shame in going to work at McDonald's or Tim Hortons if you were working in a corporate job and that job is not available anymore.
It can be a lot of fun. I know guys who work in Home Depot, they love it.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
There's no responsibility, like none. None. You don't have to think about it. You go to work, come home, take your apron off, and it's done. And I think there's a lot to be said for that sometimes.
I wish I could be like that,
Well, I love social media. Like I'm a tech geek. I've been around technology since the very first pager.
Oh,
I remember getting a fax machine. Like, holy fuck! I can send a document to London. Yeah. I love technology. Like I'm on Instagram all the time. I must be the oldest guy on there by a long way. I just share like whatever dumb shit's in my head on a given day.
Okay, Tony, I got to get going here. Got to pick up the dog. But I was going to say is if people want to follow you on Instagram, where can they follow you? Or
it's Tony M. McGrath on
Tony
Instagram.
McGrath.
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm really active on there.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook, kind of like that's family and friends for me, really. I don't love that platform entirely. I'm trying to get to grips with this new audio one. What's it called? Chatterbox or something?
Oh.
I don't think I've got time for it. It keeps popping. I get reminders about chat rooms all the time.
Yeah, it's something. I know what you mean.
I'll tell you right now what it is. I'm going to give it a go. I think it's called
everyone's in a group and
Clubhouse.
That's the one. Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we should start one in Calgary specific.
We don't have a Calgary clubhouse. No.
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I'll have to look. I don't really know what it does yet. I've got to get to grips with it. But, I like Instagram. It's awesome. There's some great people on there. And
I think you should make a Calgary clubhouse.
Yeah, I think I might start that. But I don't know if I've got time to be sitting talking to people anymore. Connect with your friends. Look after your body. Look after your soul. Look after your spirit. Don't give a shit.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Really, don't give a shit.
Just be free.
Right, it's wonderful to talk to you, and I like the pre-discussion. That was even better.
Absolutely.
I'm blessed to know you, that, and congratulations on your 150 days.
150 days.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so proud of you. I'm proud to know you, man.
And I'm happy I have a friend like you.
Okay. Take care.
See you, Tony.